I do want to talk to you about the Salvationist Handbook of Doctrine. Are you still using the Salvation Story as a way of coaching your soldiers and the people entering your membership?
It may be one that some people use. Yes.
Because it's really interesting. I had a little read last night, all 170 pages of it, and I came across a couple of chapters that kind of worried me. One of which is the problem of evil, and it talks about human wickedness and it posing an enormous problem for Christians, and it refers to the Romans, which is Book 1, 18 to 32, and it talks about the evil of women engaging in natural sexual relations with other women, and the same way that men abandoned natural relations with women and were inflamed with lust for one another. Look, it kind of concerns me that although this says that although they know God's righteous decree, that those who do such things deserve death. That's in Romans 18 to 32, and that's in your Book of Doctrines. That's part of the handbook that you give out to your soldiers. Now, if I'm a fledgling homosexual and I feel that I might need some religious dogma or guidance, and I go to the Salvation, and I haven't declared my sexuality to myself, so I'm not going to declare it to you. If I go and I read that, and I connect with my sexuality, Andrew, then that says, according to the Salvation Army, that I deserve death. How do you respond to that as part of your doctrine?
Well, that's a part of our belief system.
So we should die?
We have an alignment to the Scriptures that's our belief.
Wow, so we should die. So this is on page it's on page 28 of the Salvation Story, which you can download online. It's wonderfully available. I love that. If we go a bit further into sin, which is on page 61 and 63, again, it's going into Romans again. And look, you know, I accept that you're out there wanting to help people. I don't consider myself to be part of the oppressed or the marginalised. I don't accept that this sexuality that is part of my DNA is a choice. I also don't accept the support of any religion in a financial sense. And this is what the gay community is up in arms about, that you're proposing in your religious doctrine, in the way that you train, this is part of your training of your soldiers, that because we're gay, we must die. If you go to Romans, Book 1, 18 to 32, it's all there, mate. I mean, how can you stand by that? How is that Christian?
Well, because that is part of our Christian doctrine.
But how is it Christian? Shouldn't it be about love?
That's our understanding of that. Well, the love that we would show is about that consideration for all human beings to come to know salvation.
Or die.
Well, yes.
Andrew, I hate to be the bearer of bad tidings, but we're all going to die. It's just when. I want to bring up something else that is part of your Articles of War, which when you're becoming a soldier with the Salvation Army, there are certain beliefs or covenants that one must agree to. One of those states that we believe in the Scriptures of the Old and New Testaments were given by inspiration of God, so that they only constitute the divine rule of Christian faith and practice. In those said testaments, we want to talk about Old Testament Leviticus. The amount of contradictions in Leviticus when we're talking about a woman should be stoned to death because she's been raped. We certainly can't wear different fabrics, and that would allow us to be smoked by our neighbours. We can't eat shellfish. That we must only eat food that has the fins or scales or a cloven hoof. I mean, it's 2012. A lot of these doctrines go back several thousand years. How can they still be relevant in a modern society that has seen an enormous amount of change and understanding and compassion? At what point will the Salvos look at these doctrines and say, well, hang on, we have to move. We have to come forward to 2012, because we are ultimately, and this is the tenet of what a man from Savage Garden said, Darren Hayes, that the organisation is openly homophobic in this very, very sense.
And your doctrine, 170 pages of it, actively promotes the evil of homosexuality, and if it's not resolved, that the outcome must be death. It's very archaic in the way that it's written, but it's there in black and white. It's on page 28, it's on page 61 of the Salvation Story. Honestly, Andrew, tell me, as a human being, how can you qualify that?
Well, I qualify by way of that. That's where my belief system is structured. You know, it's what it comes down to, that salvation story, and that we can be redeemed from that. So
Andrew,
that's my belief.